Hello and welcome to Architecture, Design, and Photography. Today we are speaking with Tom Blachford. Based in Narrum or Melbourne, Australia, he specializes in interiors, architecture, aerial, and fine art photography. Working with many of Australia's prominent and creative architects and designers, Tom prides himself on translating space, texture, and design intent into strong sets of images. His skill set encompasses a variety of environments and project scales, including residential, workplace, retail, hospitality, and industrial. Tom's work has helped his clients go on to receive the press and awards their projects deserve both in Australia and internationally. His graphic approach and cinematic aesthetic also have been utilized by brands and agencies seeking evocative images to elevate their campaigns with the use of his signature style. His advertising clients and collaborations include Asahi Beer, Nomad Hotels, Deakin University, MTV, and Melbourne Fringe Festival. Recently, Tom has been a leading voice in the use of generative AI for image creation. He is available for talks, workshops, and panel discussions on the technology and is at the forefront of developments as they arise. Today, we will speak with Tom about such things. Give it up for Tom Blachford. Good day, mate, and put another shrimp on the bobby from America, because
nice.
That's all we know.
Yeah, that's what we do.
That's what we do. Actually, I've just got, I'm fresh out of the car from kind of mimicking what you Australians do with your camping trailers and the awnings that come out and go like ATV motorcycle riding. I've seen too many things like that in surf videos, to where my boys and I went and made a nice trailer for doing that and went and copied the Australians this last week. So thanks for that.
Nice. Yeah, I was up in Queensland recently and everybody has a four-wheel drive with a roof tent and an awning and is out there having fun.
That's what we have now.
Well, I'm coming to you from a van at the moment because it's total mayhem inside with two young boys. So I'm sitting in the family minivan.
How old are your kids?
3.5 and 7 months.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you're just a little ways behind me. I have 15 and currently 12, about to be 13 in November. Nice. From where you're at to where I'm at, it goes like that. So everyone tells you that, but from someone who's just going through it, it goes so fast. So take some time, go camping, and enjoy it.
I will. I might close this roof. Yeah, that's better.
Oh, there we go. There you go. Tom, I love your work.
Thanks, man.
How's that make you feel?
Great. Mutual admiration.
Oh, good. So how do you, first of all, let's see, what's the unique value in photography? You and I pretty much do the exact same thing. You have been a little more successful, at least with getting work out there of a fine art photography bent, and are marketing that a little bit more responsibly and professionally on your website. I'm in the production side of that currently, hoping to get there someday, but really enjoying using photography to reinvigorate my creativity and love of photography, hoping to get to the fine art position eventually. But I noticed from your website that you have a very strong both commercial portfolio and fine art portfolio. How do you weed out and select the projects that you take on, and how do you feel even turning away work at this point in your career? How is that for you young Australians over there compared to the American culture of hoping you can be a photographer and then all the anxiety of actually becoming one?
At the moment, I'd say I'm probably not weeding out any projects. I'd say it feels a little rocky economy-wise here, so I'm taking on pretty much everything. But I'd say that's on the commercial side. The fine art side is really nowadays just when I can get time to go and explore and travel. For me, I've been really bad at capturing my home city, at capturing Melbourne. I've done one series, but obviously there's work to be captured here. But I find I really need to travel to kind of turn my brain on and and have a deadline, have a kind of window that I can capture work in, and really need to fulfill it during that time. So I
Now,
think
why is that, you think? That's a really interesting point that I've struggled with as well, that when you're faced with doing fine art, creative work in the environment that you're in all the time, it's very difficult. Why does your local town not inspire you as much, or why are you not able to get as much fine artwork out of your local town, you think?
I got recently diagnosed with ADHD late in life at about 35, and that made a lot of sense. And I guess I've been recontextualizing everything that I've done. And one thing that I heard about people with ADHD is that you have two time zones, now and not now. And I guess when you're in your city, you are in not now, and you have no impetus. And sort of recontextualizing, realizing why I was able to be so prolific in Palm Springs is I have this timer in the sky. I shoot by the moon. I have 5 nights maximum to shoot with the full moon. I have only as long as the night is, and that is the drive that I need to capture work, to kind of fuel my motor, to keep me out there and pushing for that period. And then I kind of come home and fall in a heap and take forever to do the post-production and all that. But I think for me, just having the urgency, the sense of urgency of travel, of being in a place, of having a time period, has allowed me to be quite prolific.
So you found that a driving limitation to work that you want to complete is a very good way to get you to actually get the work done.
Yeah. Also getting other people involved. So the Palm Springs series, I kind of turn up in town and I don't really know anyone. And then I, within a few days, make dozens of contacts of people who have cars or houses. And then I kind of just start scheduling things. And then I'm kind of a natural people pleaser. And so I don't want to let them down. And so it kind of ropes it all up in that. So it's got to get done. Once that machine starts building up, it's its own beast. And I hope that I get good weather. I hope that clouds don't kill me, but I am usually shooting and working about 18 hours a day for 5 or 6 days and just surging. It's a wild ride.
So for your fine art work, you engage the more production side of it during full moon phases for about 5 days. And you just go out and hit it really hard during that time, and then take the rest of the month to essentially give it attention where you can while you do other commercial commissions, or?
Pretty much. I do find that they'll probably sit there forever on a hard drive if I don't have some push from a gallery. Usually it's one of my galleries will have an art fair or something coming up, and they're saying like, okay, we need these files, we need to go to print. And so that will then push that deadline and give me the push that I need to take that next phase. But I find the post-production phase really difficult. I find the making decisions, being on set, I find that natural. But then when I get home and I have to make those minor tweaks, I find that really difficult. And so I usually enlist my wife's help. My wife, Kate, is a wonderful photographer, Kate Ballas, and she's got a great eye. And so she usually kind of picks up the pieces and helps me through the final phase to get the files ready for print.
Now, can you feel a surge that you can ride in your creativity and then an ebb, like an exhaustion or a loss of that creative drive after you've been riding on it so high for a while? How does that work for you? And does ADHD like really affect that? I'm someone who, as I see all the ADHD memes, I think like 95% I'm like, wow, that sounds really familiar. I'm self armchair diagnosed to some degree anyways, but.
Yeah, I think I definitely have a little bit of a crash and a come down from the kind of adrenaline of that whole series. It's at least Midnight Modern, and usually when I'm capturing another series, I feel really connected kind of to the source of creativity when I'm out there and I'm shooting and making decisions and having fun and meeting people, and then getting them to that final stage, looking at them on the computer, thinking like, wow, these don't feel like mine, I've got to make them mine. is difficult. So I definitely experienced that crash, and I find it really hard to finish projects. And I think if I didn't have push from my galleries or push from publishing things, then they would probably never get done. And I'm about to come up against this kind of very beast where I'm about to go to print on a book of my Japan series. I shot a series over 2 trips called Nihon Noir, which is all Japan and brutalism and postmodernism all captured in kind of a Blade Runner style. And the pictures are kind of good. Yeah, not that much moonlight in Tokyo, but at night it's more like neon and kind of, city lights. But yeah, staying up late was kind of my thing. And so that is about to get proofed and go to print. And I know it's going to be a really painful process, just all those decisions, trying to make those, trying to kiss a file goodbye and say, okay, you're as good as you're going to be, or as good as I can get you right now. So, off you go into the world to be immortalized in print. And that's scary. And I'm not looking forward to it, but it needs to be done.
Have you read the Creative Act, A Way of Being, the Rick Rubin book on creativity?
No, it's I purchased it. I've realized buying books and reading books are 2 very different hobbies, and I'm really good at one and not so good at the other. It is sitting, yeah.
But I will say, like, that book, for someone who has at least the same tendencies as someone who can recognize a lot of common things in the memes about ADHD, that book is very, very, very good to read. It's very short, concise chapters that are extremely insightful yet vague on the creative process, as the creative process should be in some sense. And it's really, really informative, creative, and encouraging. I think
I do love
really
Rick. Love Rick. So I should read it. If I can picture him saying those words. Or I wonder if he does the audiobook. I think I could definitely get down with that.
Yeah, there you go. And I think it was him that said, you don't ever really perfect a work of art. You have to choose when to release it. Yeah. And that's kind of the mindset of, I think this is ready to meet the world, rather than I need to keep picking away at what I think I'm seeing, and simply get it to a point where you've clarified what it is you actually think you're seeing, but not try and perfect it. It's a weird balance. I
think I've thought for quite a long time that if you can't look back on old work and pick it apart and think, God, what was I doing? Then I think you haven't learned anything. So I kind of acknowledge that the other side of that is letting things out and knowing that you will either immediately or down the track, think that it's embarrassing. And I think that is progress. That's just the bittersweet. Battle of creativity.
Do you stress about that a lot, as far as when you're putting out a work of art that I like this, I think it's awesome, but I don't know how other people are going to handle this? How's that feel when you let something like that go?
I think I've usually got I think I trust my instincts now. My favorite definition of an artist, and I can't remember where it came from, is someone who trusts their quiet instincts and habitually refuses to give up. And I think that those 2 elements are the kind of key, and especially the last one. I think those 2 elements are kind of key to remaining prolific and just riding out all these waves of ups and downs and fear and indifference and joy and success and everything that comes with it. It's such a roller coaster, but I mean, I'm still early on. I'm kind of 10 years in on Midnight Modern, and that was my first really successful series. So I'm still kind of fresh, but also have a few battles under my belt.
So you still ride that roller coaster of, geez, I got a great idea. This is going to be incredible, and I know it's going to be good. And then 4 days later, you wake up, and I am the stupidest person with the worst ideas, and no one will like this. 3 days later, it's like, this is a great idea. Like, you struggle with that too?
To be honest, I try not to think about ideas, or at least in that form. I'm not that much of an ideas guy, to be honest. I have my
Okay.
series that have developed, but for me, they've always developed really organically by going to a place, usually by staying up late, just by getting out there and shooting and just trying to enjoy that process as much as possible and then kind of see what comes out of it. I think that every time I've tried to go somewhere with an idea, I've just like got stuck in my head, and every great idea I've ever had has never come to life, and every great series that I've ever put out has happened in the most beautiful organic way, where I just kind of explored a place, went out and got lost in the process, and tried not to have any expectations. So I think ideas are a little dangerous. I think that for me, they've been a cause of great misery, and the works that have actually gotten out there just kind of came to me. I guess there's kind of a theory about creativity that I don't know if you subscribe to, that ideas are out there just finding someone to bring them to life, that I guess it's a take on collective consciousness, that the idea is out there in the ether looking for the person who's going to actually do it, and if you're not the one, it'll move on to someone else, and that's one potential reason for the zeitgeist and creative consciousness and things coming out at the same time, when you're like, oh, I had that idea, that idea went and found someone else. So I like to think of it like that I want to be the antenna. I want to just be open for things to come through me and not be sitting there kind of trying to bring them to life or overthink them.
Yeah, I've heard that idea discussed, and I've spent a lot of time navel gazing and introspecting and kind of feeling that I've found ideas and realizations, and then very shortly thereafter heard them kind of raise up to the collective consciousness discussion. And
Yeah.
as I keep kind of going through that, it makes me, as you're saying, somewhat undermine my feeling that I do have the original ideas, and gravitate more so towards what you're saying, that you're a little bit more of an antenna of ideas or philosophies or situations that our culture has gotten to a point where we realize those things, and we've gotten to a place where we can have sensitive enough antennas to pick up on those things. Maybe that's the way of looking at it. But yeah, I think I agree with you. I didn't used to think that, but I'm finding more and more of those who are willing to show up and do the work and wait for the muse, if you will, that that it honors that in some way. I don't know how to relate to it other than that, but I do know that I've run into people who seem to have ideas about what they want to create, and then they go create them, and I lean towards that. And then they're people who, like you're saying, a little more so, go out and choose to put them in a situation to experience things that they then create from. And I've focused on doing that more so over the last about 2 to 3 years. And I have a much harder time with it than coming up with a concept that I execute exactly how I want. And I don't know what that says about me as a person, if I'm like controlling and whatever else. But the idea that I did have that we executed on that went really well. But then I had so much architectural work that I never continued doing that vein of that kind of more documentary fine art photography that we had done in that vein for that project. But it's interesting what you're saying, that our ideas something that we uniquely make, or are they kind of floating in the ether? And it's interesting to hear that you're now. Is it difficult for you that you feel, because I know that I feel when I go out to do stuff like that, if I don't have an idea for an end result, I feel like I'm just making work for myself, and it's hard for me to get into the cycle of doing the work and being that meditatively present in that way, to where you can actually see the things that you need to see to be able to create. I've found that if I'm with my family and they're on a walk and they're hurried, I can't see the things that I can see when I'm out walking with a camera, thinking about it, observing it, and taking the time to see the things that are unique that catch my eye. Whereas in the other sense, when you're rushing, it just kind of all goes by you and you see the same things you always see. I think that's why your local city is always harder, that you've already patterned the whole thing, and it's harder to actually find the irregularities in the pattern because you've already structured the pathways in your mind of what you commonly see. But again, that's probably why you notice things out of place in your home city much more quickly, obviously, than you would in some other city. But I could ramble on forever unless I move on to my next question.
Go for it.
Unless you have anything to say about that.
Yeah, I would say, look, I very much doubt I'd be able to get in the zone if I had all my kids and family.
How many kids do you have?
I just have two.
Just
but
two.
That's
okay.
heaps, yeah.
When you say all my, okay.
Yeah.
You're
So,
like me in
I'm
that
recently
maybe.
Two.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I have
That's
two.
an
I have
upgrade.
two boys.
That's an upgrade.
Like you. Yeah. I have two boys, so it's
don't
intense.
value all of your material possessions in your house at all, do you? Because they're all going to be broken in the next few years.
Yeah, I'm learning
Just
that.
get used to that.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, the hurricane of destruction and love is surging. That's okay. Yeah, I would say one other maybe interesting thing on this topic that I've realized lately. A lot of my career, I used to feel really less than. I had a lot of imposter syndrome when I would see other creatives and other artists have these sketches, have these ideas that would come out like fully formed, would have these books of the frame, the composition, what it was going to look like. And I never had that. I'm really dark up in my mind. And I found out about a year ago that there's a word for that. It's called aphantasia. And I have a thing. I think I have a pretty good case of aphantasia where if I close my eyes and try and picture something, I have a really hard time picturing anything. If you tell me to close my eyes and picture a stream and a tree and all of that, I am totally blurry there. I can't really see anything in my mind's eye. But I've managed to make a career as a creative artist, and so that's where a camera has been not just a nice to have, it's been an absolute necessity for me to be able to go to a place and start seeing things. And once I see things and they're in front of me, I can start making decisions about them. I can start sculpting things and taking things out and putting things in and moving where I am and making a composition. But I'm not someone who has searing dreams or visions or really much going on in my head visually at all. I really need it to be in front of me. And so that's been an interesting realization that that's kind of another part of my neurodiversity, and that's who I am, and it's let me create the way that I've been able to create, and I feel blessed for that.
I would say that we're blessed for that, in that whatever the difficulty that you experience in that, if you do experience a difficulty in that, the end result is that you have a unique and, strikingly better portfolio than most portfolios I've seen of work. It's just
Thank you.
Cohesive, consistent, and just feels strikingly alive. And engaging. I actually went through your entire website.
Great. Thanks for kicking around.
I don't always get enough curiosity to do that. So, how do you weed out the commercial projects?
Yeah, as I said, at the moment I'm not. I'm taking everything at the moment, and I think as long as the clients kind of align with my philosophy and they're happy to come on set with me, I'm happy to shoot pretty much anything. As long as I have a client that understands it is what it is, and I will make it look better than it is, but I can't make it look like something it's not, then I'm okay with that. My commercial process is that I always have a client on set. They're always there with me. We're working through everything together. We're kind of solving this Rubik's Cube. And if they want to capture something that I don't think will work, I'll walk them through why I don't think it'll work. I'll take that shot, and then we'll kind of all be satisfied together. So because I think I've got my practice to a point where it's collaborative and they come on the journey with me, I don't really get the negative aspects of, did you capture this? Why didn't you capture this? I don't like the way that looks. So, and I'm a real people pleaser. I like having people around. I like meeting new people. I like listening to music. So we have fun on set, and even if it's a completely dog shit project, then as long as they're happy and we had a nice day, then I'm cool with it at this point. So that's where I'm at this point. We'll see whether I have the luxury of being a bit more selective in months or years to come.
Well, I mean, every job on your website, like the commercial jobs where you can tell this, like someone paid me to come and capture what they created, is just the quality of the architecture is astounding. So automatically I'm thinking every single job that Tom does is like this, but probably like my work, there's, like 90, I mean, what, like 20% of your work ends up on your website, probably, if you're lucky. Less.
Maybe,
so,
yeah. I think I might do maybe like 60 to 80 projects a year, and maybe 5 end up on my website. Yeah, it's a low number. Yeah.
How many times are you shooting a week at that rate, you think? Does it bunch into a season for you, or is it year round?
Yeah, it's quite seasonal. It's probably like September to April is probably my busiest time, and I'm probably shooting 3 to 5 days a week during that time, and then trying to
commercially.
Yeah,
5 days a week. Wow, dude.
If I can, but maybe a half day, a few half days. Yeah, I mean, 5 days a week is a good week, and as you know, things fall down. I could be booked for 5 days, and by Monday afternoon, 2 or 3 jobs could have fallen down. Not
my job for
usually
tomorrow
completely
got canceled today.
Yeah, exactly. The builder's not finished. They're always telling lies about when it's going to be finished, or the stools haven't arrived, or the weather's bad, or I try and just be chill about that. Just kind of be like an air traffic controller. Just like, okay, next, who's next?
Right.
So yeah.
Do you keep like a backup client list if someone moves out, someone else is able to move in?
No, I usually take the day. Just think, okay, that's a win. I'm not usually that busy, or maybe I've got to run and do a reshoot on an exterior. But I've actually tried to gear my practice towards probably like 80% interiors, and probably only 20% of my jobs require interiors and exteriors. Melbourne's a really notoriously unpredictable city with weather, so trying to schedule around the weather in this city is a bit of a nightmare. So if I was 100% exteriors, I'd just be out, in and out all the time, and it'd be so disruptive. I try and keep a whole lot of clients who just do interior design, and then I'm inside and I don't have to worry about what's going on outside.
Yeah, I'm in the northeast of the U.S., and that the weather is, the saying here is, if you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So that's always a difficulty, but I would say almost every project of ours is both a combination of exterior and interior. It's really only our commercial work where we end up, like commercial buildings, like office spaces, where we end up being 100% indoors for most of the shoot. So like last year was really rough. We had just tons and tons of bad weather at the beginning of the summer, so it pushed the whole, glut of shoots towards the end of the season, and it was just, oof. It was a rough one.
Yeah, it's tough.
Now, what's your approach to a project? You had said that you like to have a client on site. I'm 100% on board with you on that, because you definitely don't want to get to the end of a job and have someone say, well, why didn't you take this? You need that representative do that. But do you engage with scouting, and how do you find that you find the composition that works in a room? Is it something I can just circle the perimeter of a room and at this point know where the composition is? It kind of slides in like a lock, key in a lock. All of a sudden it's like, right here. Yep, there we go. And there's variation on that to a degree, but typically I'll scout when we arrive, and scout with my phone. We go through on the iPad and narrow it down, and then shoot. Is that a similar process to what do you do, or do you scout like days before, or how do you typically?
I try not to. I think I'm pretty similar to you. I usually don't scout before. Maybe they send me some pics, and maybe a floor plan, which I pretend to know how to read. And then, and then I get there, I kind of get them to give me a little tour, like once around, no cameras, just get an idea of the space and how everything connects. And then I'll grab a scouting camera, which is just a body with a 24-70 on it. And I'll, at like a million ISO, just throw away shots, and I'll kind of shoot those. And then that will kind of give me an idea of a little game plan, and then just go about it, try and watch out for the light. It's kind of funny, when I got diagnosed with ADHD, I kind of reflected on the fact that I don't ever want to stay in a spot for too long, and my clients kind of think it's a superpower. I'm just like, okay, we're done here, look at that light over there, and they're like, wow, I didn't even see that, he's amazing. But I'm just kind of like, I'm sick of standing here, like, we're tweaking that kettle, we're done, let's go.
Right.
Yeah,
that's so funny. You have a worse. My assistant and I, whenever we're shooting and we're in an office space, the comment that we just each keep saying is like, I don't know how people go to the same place to work every day. How do people do this? Every single day, go to the same spot and same cubicle, and I'd be homeless. It would be bad.
Yeah, same. I was shooting at lawyer's office yesterday, and it was a lovely office, but just the like complete silence except for the hum of an HVAC system is just like, it's not for me. Yeah,
the hum of the fluorescent lights.
Yeah.
How do you feel at the end of a photo shoot, a commercial photo shoot, where it's, dance for me, monkey boy, else you don't get paid again?
I usually feel good. I usually feel like we have a moment where we kind of look around and we're like, hey, did we get it? I think we got it. That's a wrap. And I love the wrap. The wrap's great. It's a good moment. Yeah, I really love commercial work. I've been so lucky to be able to build a fine art career and everything that comes with that, galleries and prints and all those kind of publications. But I still just love going to work. I think I would still be doing this even if my print sales were off the charts and selling out every time I had an exhibition. I would still be loving meeting people, seeing new spaces, solving that puzzle every day. It's great. I love it.
Now, I'd be interested to know, like, if you had your ideal amount of work that you worked creatively and the type of photography, like if you were to set up, money's not going to be an issue, and you're going to be shooting a certain type of subject over, however much you want. What's a week look like for you if you were to design that? Like, what kind of subject would you be shooting, and how often would you be shooting?
Well, I think I'd probably love to get a little bit of creative fine art stuff in every week. It's really not going to happen, but I think that would be the dream of dreams, would be to be able to go out for a night a week to shoot, even in my own city. Just to be out trying to get into that space would be, I think, amazing. So I'd say probably one night of that. I'd say 2 nice houses, maybe 1 nice restaurant, half day, 2 full days, 1 half day, and maybe a nice day where a client takes me out to lunch. Let's go with that, and a day or 2 to spend with the family. I think that would be glorious, and then some nice licensing invoices. I think that'd be great. So let's see if we can make the dream happen.
Licensing invoices, those are good ones.
Yeah, they're good.
All right, so at the end of a photo shoot, my mind is like absolute mush, and I always feel like, I don't know if we got it. Like, I'm always a little anxious at the end of it, no matter what. And that's
you tether?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I know what I'm getting in the composition, but I approach it so analytically that I don't feel it. And it's only when the post-production is done that I can sit back and be like, all right, I can feel that. There's something weird that when I'm working in the moment, the feeling tells me where the composition is. But in the process of capturing it, it's such a intellectual and nitpicky, like moving a chair off of an apex and stuff like that. That by the end of the whole thing, I've been doing the heavy lifting of 1,000 grains of sand
Yeah.
to where at the end of the day, it's kind of, you're just mush. And the feeling is never one of elation other than like, wow, that was a heavy lift. And now I'm just going to look at the road as we drive home, you know, and it's not till I get back and go through them that I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah. We got some
Are
good
you
stuff
shooting
here.
to iPad?
Yep.
Okay.
We use Cam Ranger and
I think that may, to be honest, so I mean, I think it's ridiculous that it's like nearly 2025. We're meant to have flying cars and I still have to shoot tethered with a cable. But for me, I shoot tethered to Capture One. Everything comes in with a treatment. I'm not looking at any brackets, or I'm not even bracketing if I don't need to for a shot. So and my edits are basically done. So I think that gives me some peace of mind that I didn't just kind of capture the elements of the room or what we need to put it together. I'm usually like I'm like 80-90% of the way there. So when I leave a shoot, I send through proofs. The proofs look good. I've been like, as they come through to Capture One, I'm tweaking them. I've got my treatment on them. I'm checking, you know, shadows and highlights are all there. Everything's looking good. And so maybe that is something that I see with the iPad thing, is that I can't deal with the double handling. I just like will fall in a heap if I have to go home and then do that edit and send those proofs. So this is pretty controversial, but I would say my entire post-production process, once I get selects, is and working with an external retoucher, is I'm probably spending an hour to do 30 photos, whereas I know photographers that spend an hour per photo and are spending 30 hours to do 30 photos. So my ADHD has made it so that if something takes me a second longer than it needs to, I will die. So I found that the most efficient process for me is shooting tethered into Capture One. This is getting pretty nerdy if your poor listeners came to just hear about Midnight Modern, but my workflow is carrying around a heavy laptop on a tripod, plugging into a stupid cable for every single shot, and knowing that the file's going to look good, and that helps me to come home feeling like we got it, and I'm going to send you the proofs as soon as I get home, which I love.
Interesting.
Yeah,
I used to do all my own post-production, but it just took so much time. I started in 2005 or 7, and that's right when digital passed film. And I took quite a while on the post-production side of it, but realized very quickly I didn't have the tendency to fuss long enough over the details to get good post-production for what I needed. And so had to hire a retoucher a long time ago, and he was really good, but it didn't work out long term, just working together. And about over a decade ago now, I got a second retoucher, Tim, who has become an integral part of what I do. And he's just amazing. And it's great because after a shoot, I hand the card over to him, and he handles all the interaction with clients and delivery and post-production and everything else. And we even have a second guy working on post-production for us as well to handle the load. And we get a pretty high number of images out of shoots because of how we shoot and post-produce, but we do charge for that, so it all balances out. But I definitely couldn't at this level deal with doing all that post-production, or at this amount, I should say, couldn't deal with that amount of post-production. But all your work looks like just incredible. So whatever you're doing is like you've figured out the cheat code, man. That it looks so good. So
well, I found something that was taking a really, really long time. Again, we're getting in the weeds here. That's really nerdy, but something that was taking a really long time was getting saturation off surfaces that shouldn't be saturated. So those color casts, little blues, little greens. I found an amazing plugin called Lemenzia, which you may know, which people use for a lot of different things. But one thing that it does is it can create a vibrance mask, which will, in about 2 seconds, find all those colors and give you a slider to desaturate them in 1 second, or even. And then I worked out that in Capture One, I can actually do that, select the least saturated colors and just desaturate those. So now I'm not even going into Photoshop for a lot of files. It's on my profile, it's on my preset in Capture One. It's pulling back all of those colors that shouldn't be there, and then we're really close in the ballpark. Contrast in, saturation out, everything looks good. So and then it just gets to a point where I've just got to get rid of the exit signs and the crap and the scratches and everything else that my clients don't want to see. But I'm really proud of my workflow now, that I can keep my stress down, keep my jobs getting out the door, and leave the day knowing that it's going to look good.
What are the judgment or guidance? What is the touchstone, the judgment that you use to work through what's interesting to photograph and how to compose it? Like, do you get as technical as, well, it's got to be in thirds, and I'm going to put this here and that there, or is it a feeling within the experience for you? How's that work?
I'm usually guided by the kind of geometries of the space. I think I've got some things that I definitely don't do. I rarely ever shoot landscape into corners. I usually, if I'm shooting into a corner, it's going to be a vertical portrait shot, and probably with the tighter lens. I guess I'm just getting a feel for it. Try not to have anything too cluttered. Try and look at the light. Front light's the devil. I try not to get anything front lit, with the light source right behind me, so that the fall off's going through the frame. I try not to ever shoot that. Hard to put into cardinal rules, but I'd say it's probably the things that I don't do maybe define my work, that I am not shooting too wide, that I'm not shooting landscapes into corners, that I am turning off any downlights that I ever see, and turning off most lights that I ever see. I guess that's a contrast. I'm pretty much telling all clients, hey, your lighting design's great. That's a lovely lamp. That's a lovely light. I don't care. I'm turning it off. It's gonna ruin our colors. It's gonna ruin our smoothness.
You too.
Yeah. It's
it's such a difference. A lot of times what we do with that is we shoot it with the lights off, and then we'll figure out how to do a layer with the lights on and just pull in like the bulb and none of the light that it casts. Which I used to watch people shoot, like they'd put a strobe in frame, like hitting something. And to me, it always just felt a little odd to have this intense, incredible light that, like that kind of light should have a source here that we should be able to see, but we can't. And it felt like photography games that were inappropriate within the sphere of architectural photography. But I used to say what's appropriate, so...
I mean, look, what's appropriate for me is getting in and out of there as fast as possible. If I'm setting up lights, I mean, you can look at any project on my website. There will not be lights. I'm a natural light guy. I would rather do a 40-second exposure, from one window right down the hall than put a light on a stand. That's at least that's my approach. And when I see these photographers who, take 100 frames and layer them, and they got a flash bulb and they're flashing this and the specular crap, I don't know. It's not for me. I can't do it. I couldn't possibly do it on either end of the process. But it's good that people have been able to work out new techniques. But for me, a big window, side light, tripod, 45mm lens, I get everything I need.
Now, how big are you on equipment? Are you a tech guy that gets all into, you got to use this, and I love this and that? Or is it whatever captures it?
I'm a big nerd. I'm a big gear nerd, but I've managed to vanquish my gear acquisition syndrome, and I'm just really happy with the gear that I have. And I try not to buy anything new. I haven't got sucked into the medium format, like GFX rabbit hole that I see a lot of my colleagues getting sucked into. I guess I've just realized over the years I print bigger than sorry if you're a Fuji guy. They look great, but I don't think I need them. I mean, of all the things my clients ever tell me that's wrong with a photo, resolution is never ever one of them. And when I'm printing big, and I think I print bigger than most people more often, it's usually not the problem. It's usually that I screwed up focus, or something bad's in it, or I don't know. Pixels don't tend to be my issue, but that's my take on it.
Now, I'd be interested to see. I don't think you shoot with Canon. It looks like
No, I'm a
Sony
Nikon
colors
guy.
a tiny bit. Nikon.
No, I'm a
Okay, that's
I'm a
why I
Nikon guy.
couldn't.
Yeah, yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Nikon. Right.
I mean, low light at
Interesting.
night. My series wouldn't have happened if I shot Canon. I've needed,
Really?
all of the low light abilities and lack of noise on Nikon has been crucial to my work. Shooting at night, I'm at 500 ISO. When you're shooting by moonlight, you're slammed up against all of the limits of everything. If I want to go one stop more, then it's going from a 2-minute to a 4-minute exposure. So
Right.
I've got I'm usually shooting about f8, f9, 500 ISO, and between 30 seconds and 3-minute exposure for Palm Springs stuff. Anyway.
Yeah. In looking through the Palm Springs collection, that silvery kind of cool light compared against the more tungsten, warmer tones of the background and the city and everything. It was really interesting to me because I have this very stark memory from when I taught high school in the Marshall Islands, halfway between U.S. and Australia, essentially, for 2 years. And one weekend we went out and camped on this outer island of this atoll that we were on. And on the inside of the atoll, they had it was like white sand with probably 12 to 15 foot high coral heads dispersed underwater. And it was a full moon. And so we didn't have any night diving gear. We were just snorkeling. And so we basically put like mag lights in Ziploc bags and put some snorkel on and went for it. And, the mag lights died within like 5 minutes. And we realized as soon as they went off, we didn't need anything. And we could see the water was so clear and the moon was so bright.
Yeah.
It was just this like silvery bluish out of James Bond water, light, moonlight. It was just the most amazing memory at that time. And it just always stuck with me. And seeing your project kind of brought that back, that monochromatic, kind of cooler, just really, really interesting look. And I just really appreciate that. So it's a really interesting project you're doing, and I would encourage anyone to go check it out. It's super cool.
Thank you.
Let's see. What makes a good architectural photograph specifically for you?
Oh, that's a good question. I guess kind of reverence for the rules of things a little bit, straight lines and nothing too blown out. I guess capturing the texture, really hard to say. I guess you kind of have your own perspective on the projects that you've been to, that you were trying to capture, and then I guess consuming other people's work, you're looking at, I guess, more composition and tone, light. I guess when you're looking at your own work, you're thinking, does that capture that building, or does it even make it look better than it actually is? I think it's hard to say, but I hope I'm on track to make lots of them. I think that's all I'd say.
So in thinking about focal length and camera height, how do you use that to one degree or the other in an architectural interior composition?
I
have a predetermined answer that I'm wondering if you've come to the same conclusion. That's why I'm asking. Sorry.
I tend to keep my camera height pretty chest height, probably like 5'5" ish, maybe 5'3" to 5'5" is probably where I hang most of the day. I never go lower than a table or a bench top, and I don't like seeing that. And focal length, probably, I reckon 35. If there was a 35 tilt shift, that'd be amazing, but there isn't one. 35 to 45 is great if you can get back far enough, and otherwise, whatever lens you have to use. I would always rather get back and shoot with a longer lens than shoot with something wider. I'm like out the window or taking the window off the hinges, or I'm in the cupboard, or I'm like next door or standing on the neighbor's doorstep. I'm always back as far as I can get. And I think for that Midnight Modern series, that is perhaps, I shoot that all with a 45 lens, and usually from the neighbors across the streets, like grass or front door to try and get back to get a little bit of compression. So that's where I found myself, trying to avoid wide angles as much as possible, get back as far as I can, and yeah. What's your vibe?
So I think I gravitate towards 50 as much as possible. Yeah. If I can fit in what I need with 50, if I can eliminate as much as possible, I always aim for that. Yeah. In styling, if I can eliminate as much as possible, I go till it feels empty, and that's when you know, okay, now put the last thing back in and see how it feels. Yeah. With focal length, I'm always edging towards tighter, because I know that the wider is better for more information, but not for the feeling. And architectural photography to me is more about the feeling than about the information. Yeah. So. But it's a fine line. You don't want to, as you were saying, your depth of field. You know, if it's too shallow, become okay. Maybe it's a great detail on handrail, but you don't want to use that for an overall unless it's maybe a bathroom or a bedroom shot. Yeah. With camera height, interestingly, I usually stay around belly button height than chest height, and I tend to go lower because I feel that. The lower compositions to me, I tend to have a more emotive feeling towards than the higher ones. The higher up to me feels like more accurate information, like shooting with the sun behind you, that you can see everything perfectly lit, but you can't see the depth of it as easily, right? So you lose that added information. When I shoot from too high up, I feel more informational. When I get it lower, I feel a little more like my armchair psychology is that, like, well, when you were that height, you trusted everything more, so you feel more willing to view and allow yourself to be emotional in viewing this image. That's what I tell myself. I have no idea if that's just a bunch of BS or not, but it feels that way to me.
You're shooting like a 6-7-year-old height, maybe? Maybe I'm more like yeah, okay. I think I'm more like a 10-12-year-old. I guess. But yeah, I wonder if that all sounds good. That makes sense.
I wonder if that reflects the significant developmental times in our lives, and if that could be traced back. That's a weird thought that we'll never get an answer to. But hey, why not ask it, right?
Yeah. Also, I'm not that tall. Maybe if I was 6'4", I'd it'd be on a different level. But yeah.
Let's see. How did you feel towards photography before you became professional, and how do you feel now?
I really came to photography very organically. I never studied photography, and I just picked up a camera when I was 20, and it just felt amazing. I was completely enamored with it. I fell in love with it, and I'm still quite in love with it, but definitely need space from it a little bit more. When I first picked up a camera and I had no idea you could be a photographer or what that looked like, I just wanted to shoot everything every day, every night, take a photo of everything that I saw. And now I'm so grateful to have a life and a career built around it. And my wife's a photographer as well. It's an incredibly integral part of our life. But I need days off, and I need to not pick up a camera. And I think that's a little sad. It was the best hobby I ever had, and I kind of killed it by making it the best career I could ever have. So I mourn that a little bit, but I'm also super grateful that I get to do this, every day.
No, that's exactly why I asked. That's interesting because same experience, no formal training at all as a photographer, trained as an architect. But then when I picked up a camera, it just felt natural. Like I knew how to compose and what kind of light felt best. I didn't know how to create it, but I knew how to put myself where it looked good. So that was enough to start. But yeah, when you start out and there's that pulling into, I don't know this, but I can feel like I'm good at it. And it's very exciting to work in that and to start creating and to see what you're producing improve. And then, eventually you get to a point where that excitement of it wanes as you become better at it. But as
Yeah.
you become better at it, you can charge for it and you can charge more for it.
Yeah.
And then the more you charge, the more you have to do what you did before consistently
Yeah.
to keep getting paid, to keep
Yeah.
feeding those two little boys that need that food. And then
Yeah.
in that, you start to feel like you've got your back against the wall and that, oh, wait a minute, I was doing this creatively, which means I'm going to keep trying this in different ways, which if you're a fine art photographer primarily, or if you have enough of that in your life, you can fulfill it with that, I would imagine. And the other, commercial side of it is in a sense, maybe just an additional challenge that's fun. Who knows? But for me, the commercial side of it is so predominant and intense. I take off from like January 1st to about April 1st. I just don't take any work, and I just focus on my family and travel and spend time together as much as possible, because the rest of the year is just usually so stressed and my mind is elsewhere, and my kids are just at an age where choosing to divert all the attention from them towards getting money to potentially leave that money to them rather than leave them with the love and attention that they need from me. I have to choose the love and attention and take what little bit of money we can eke out from a creative livelihood, which can be significant and fun and, more than having an office job. But it still comes with its downsides of burnout and everything else too. So
yeah, and I wonder how long I don't know how long we have of this. Obviously there's some AI developments, and I've been using those a lot. I've created a lot. I'm not sure if you looked at my Instagram, but I've actually gone pretty hard down the AI rabbit hole in the last couple of years, and I've been using those, and I do wonder how that will impact our industry and whether it will still exist in 5 to 10 years. I hope it does, but yeah, nothing's for certain. And,
that was the last thing I wanted to ask you about, the AI aspect of it. To me, the AI part of it made me not want to come up with any ideas, like we were talking about earlier. Realizing what AI could do eliminated the joy of an idea that I would then go execute on. And much more so pushed me towards wanting to be that go out and observe reality, capture that, and do not manipulate it, but capture it in the best way possible to point out what remains of humanity before it's all gone. Like really, that is a weird thing that I'm kind of up against now, oddly. How long do you guess we'll have jobs as architectural photographers specifically anymore? And then beyond that, what's the future of creativity look like in especially photography, but then beyond with the introduction of AI? So just quickly taking over.
I'm pretty hopeful about AI, and I have used AI I think AI is really in service of ideas, and I'm not necessarily, I'm not one to be drawn to skill worship. I think it's really amazing, the skills that I have, but I do them because this was the only way to do them. If a faster way to do something comes along and it's in service of the idea, I guess it's this kind of binary that I've been thinking of. It's like, do you want the idea to come to life, or do you not want the idea to come to life? And if the only way for the idea to come to life is the most difficult way that's not going to happen, then it's not really in service of the idea. So I've been playing a lot with AI in the last couple of years to bring ideas to life, ideas that I have, in a fleeting moment, and then I can execute before I have time to, coddle them or I can just kind of jump on things. So if you look on my Instagram, there's posts, and I've kind of been following architectural stories. One, for instance, is I had this idea that there was this time in the 70s and 80s in Europe where they had these tax breaks for offshore drilling companies to build these oil rigs, but all these rich people worked out that they could use it as a free way to build underwater houses. So there was this whole period of architecture in the 70s and 80s where all these rich people built all these houses underwater. And I thought that would be kind of awesome and hilarious. And so I could jump on Midjourney and make like 100 images of these incredible interiors from different styles, and then use ChatGPT to come up with the kind of entire story of this period, make up a magazine that worked in the 80s, come up with the names of all these architects, kind of just have fun with this whole idea that came to life in about half an hour. And so I think creatively, as I've been kind of more bogged down with family, I've really enjoyed having AI as part of my practice. And I'm probably on the other side of this to most of my contemporary photographers who are pissed about AI and don't want anything to do with it. So I've really enjoyed exploring it. As far as how long our industry will last, the way that I kind of see it is that the moat that's built around our industry is that architectural competitions and awards only accept photography at this point, and that most publications, although one of our biggest magazines just ran an AI cover, that most publications are only going to want to publish works that are photographs of real projects. I think that if awards are going to start to accept things that are rendered or AI, or if magazines are going to run a lot of content that is rendered or AI generated, then I think that our moat dries up, and I think that that's when our industry will start to fall. And so I don't know when that's going to happen, but that's the kind of landscape as I see it. How does that sit with you?
Here's the reason that I hope you're wrong. And you might be completely right, but I'm just going to hope that you're wrong.
Yeah.
You've put more time and experience into this. I've played around a lot with ChatGPT, more in a philosophical realm, trying to get it to admit that it's conscious, but it won't outright admit it.
Yeah.
But I think so. Architects wooing potential clients in is not completely different than a woman wooing in someone with appearance. Okay. In that if it's too perfect, there's something's not gonna be easy, you know? And there's something in there that seeing the reality in it tells you more about the whole thing. And to get a rendering is kind of like it's fake. And if we know it's fake, then we know that you're representing something to me that you didn't have to go through the difficulty of unleashing millions of dollars to finish this project. You just made a rendering of an idea compared to, did you deal with a difficult client? Did you deal with a difficult city? Did you deal with the difficult practice of getting these details to work in this building? Oh, these photographs, these are actual photographs. This is real. I can go here. All right, you can actually do these things. And the photographs are beautiful. And you know how to work with, I think there's a lot more being said within that at least within the current culture up to people in their late 20s are going to want to see reality without really being able to say we want to see reality. If they can spot that the architect that they're looking at considering to trust their, baby of a home or a place for their business with, and they're using all artificially generated imagery to express what they can do, it's not a good look. So
yeah, I hope you're right. I mean, it does spook me though that I see, giant apartment buildings and penthouses and, things that are sold
that
off
kind
the plan.
Of thing, yeah.
For hundreds of thousands, millions, even tens of millions of dollars that are done completely using renders, and now
is
people are
that
happy
for advertising the space or advertising the skills of the designer?
No, that's for advertising the space, but I do sometimes see, sometimes a firm will contact me and I'll go to their website and every single image is generated, and I kind of think, well, I don't think we're going to work together because you don't really know what it takes to photograph something. But I think that there are architecture practices that do just get by. Yeah, as I said, I feel like the thing that justifies our rates is not necessarily communicating that idea. It's that the architects want opportunities for awards and publication. At least in Australia, that's how the industry feels to me, that the level that I'm producing at is not the level required for an architect to get a new client. It's the level required to win an architecture award or get published in the best magazine. That's kind of what I'm striving for my clients, to produce to that standard, not necessarily the standard that's going to get them the next job. So I guess that's why I see those things as the kind of key buttress of what's holding up the industry at the moment. And yeah, we'll see what happens.
Architecture competitions are going to keep us in business then.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah,
potentially.
Yeah.
All right, let's start a few architecture competitions ourselves and see how it goes.
Yeah, it seems to be a real cash cow.
Right. Cool.
I'm always like, where's the money, Lebowski? Like, you pay for the entrance, and then there's no prize money, and then you got to pay. At least in Australia, you got to pay to go to the awards dinner, even if you get nominated. I'm just like, where's the money, Lebowski? Where did it all go?
That's funny. Have you been to awards banquets where your work is winning awards for your clients?
No, I haven't. Never get invited.
Me neither. Okay,
maybe.
Good.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, good. Yeah.
I didn't know if
Not
that was a
just us.
common thing that photographers did and I was missing out or something. So, the other thing I wanted to ask you, have you worked for Unispace?
No, I haven't. What do they do?
No, they're an Australian company that I shoot for here and for their U.S. offices in Boston. I used to shoot a lot for them. But they're in Australia, I think they started out as some kind of, you wouldn't call it a cult, but it's like a very unique Christian something.
It's owned by a church. Yeah, no, I do know about Unispace. Never worked for them. I think, I don't know who's taking all their shots. Maybe I'll investigate that. Yeah,
I was just wondering if paths cross, at least with clients that way. So,
nice.
Anyways, Tom, thank you for, what time is it there in Australia?
It's 8:11 a.m. I've got to go and photograph a primary school. But the day's looking quite glorious, as you can see from the terrible lighting through the doors of my minivan right now. But
nice.
It's going to be good. I might get the drone up. It's going to be a good day.
Full day shoot or half day?
Just a half day.
I love a good half day. Just enough creativity to almost wear you out a little bit, and then you just have, I'm going to organize some stuff the rest of the day. So, but you're putting in a full day after doing this, so thank you.
Yeah. Hey, a pleasure. It was so nice to chat.
Well, I appreciate it. It's not often I get to speak to other architectural photographers who are going through seemingly all the same things, but on the opposite side of the world. So, thanks for that.
A pleasure, man. Let's keep in touch.
Yeah, and where would people find your Instagram and your website and all that, if you could let them know?
Sure. My website is www.tomblachford.com. My name does not have a T in it. It's Blachford. And my Instagram handle is @Blachford. And if you want to see my AI stuff, for some reason, it's just living on my Instagram at the moment. I haven't put it on my website yet, but there's some interesting rabbit holes to go down with that, and then my website is split into commercial and fine art. There's a lot to explore, as you saw. So, really anybody cool listening, feel free to get in touch with any questions. I'm always happy to share, and it's a wonderful world.
Well, Tom, thank you so much. And I'm definitely going to be going to check out your Instagram. I hadn't checked that out yet. I was very impressed with your website. So everyone else, I would imagine, will be impressed with it if they have the same taste as me. So thank you.
Great. Thanks, man. Great to chat. Have an awesome day.